Hey everybody. So today the college football playoffs final rankings came out, as well as the announcements for who's going to be in the playoffs and the New Year's Day 6 bowl games. Now, of course, just as it's been always known to be, even when it was the BCS, which was short for the Bowl Championship Series, even when it was the BCS, it did not. The selections in the bowl, in the college football playoff and New Year's Day 6 bowl games did not come off without controversy. And that's a fact. They did not come off without controversy because the biggest controversy is who got left out. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to read off the list of bowl games that are pretty much set in stone. They're all ready to go. There's no TBDs or TBAs, in front of the verses or before it. Everything is pretty much finalized. Now, here's how the bowl games will go, as far as I know. Here's how the bowl games will go. Now, all the times that were listed are Eastern, but so I'm going to go off by Pacific. By Pacific for me, because I live in California. So, the first several bowl games will be basically in, essentially, 13 days. It will be in 13 days. And you're looking at a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bowl games on opening day of the bowl season. And here's how they go. First off, you have the Myrtle Beach Bowl in Conway, South Carolina. That'll be at 8 a.m. Pacific. 8 a.m. Pacific, where I live, and that'll be on ESPN. And that'll be between Georgia Southern and Ohio of the MAC. Georgia Southern of the Sun Belt and Ohio of the MAC. So you got a Sun Belt MAC matchup there in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Then, an hour later at 9 a.m. Pacific on ABC. You'll have the Celebration Bowl, Florida A&M, and Howard. Now, the Myrtle Beach Bowl at 8 a.m. will be on ESPN. The Celebration Bowl will be on ABC at 9. Again, these are Pacific times I'm going off of. Then, let's see, 2, 1, 12, yeah. At 11:15 a.m., and this is the earliest I think I've ever seen this bowl game, but 11:15 a.m., it'll be Jacksonville State against Louisiana. So again, you have, I think it's Conference USA against, against the Sun Belt in Louisiana. So you got Conference USA's Jacksonville State against Louisiana. Now what's interesting is Jacksonville State, I believe, and another team I'm going to announce, were not supposed to be, eligible to be in the bowl games this year until next year. But because of the fact that there weren't many eligible bowl teams out there, eligible schools with, passable winning records and all that, they decided to make an exception, from what I understand. But yeah, the New Orleans Bowl at 11:15 a.m. Pacific on ESPN, Jacksonville State in Louisiana. Then on ABC is the Cure Bowl. The Cure Bowl, which will be Miami of Ohio of the MAC against, I believe, Appalachian State of the Sun Belt. So you got a MAC and Sun Belt match again in the Cure Bowl in Orlando, Florida on ABC at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. 12:30 p.m. Pacific. Then, as I get my coffee here for a second. Then, following that, let's see, 5, 4, 3, 2. At 2:45 p.m. on ESPN, we'll have the New Mexico Bowl. It'll be Fresno State versus New Mexico State, and obviously you're going to have a home crowd there for New Mexico State. So New Mexico State and Fresno State will meet up in the New Mexico Bowl, and New Mexico State is an independent, as far as we know. Fresno State, of course, from the Mountain West. Then, at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, will be the LA Bowl. And it will be UCLA versus Boise State. So Boise State won the Mountain West Conference championship, so thus they got the invitation to the LA Bowl. But UCLA and Boise State in the LA Bowl. But here's what's interesting. UCLA is going to have a home crowd. We all know that. And then to close out the opening day of the bowl season at, let's see, 9, 8, 7, at 6:15. At 6:15 p.m., we will have the Independence Bowl. And that'll be Texas Tech and Cal. That's right, the Cal Golden Bears won the last two games to become bowl eligible. And that's at 9:15 p.m. That's going to be a late game for them, big time. But yeah, that is the first day, which is December 16th. That is December 16th of this year. Then, 2 days later, on Monday, December 18th, the Bahamas Bowl, which is temporarily renamed the famous Toastery Bowl. That's right, the Bahamas Bowl temporarily renamed the famous Toastery Bowl because it's being moved from the Nassau Stadium in the Bahamas to Charlotte, North Carolina. This one will be Western Kentucky and Old Dominion. So the Bahamas Bowl, temporarily renamed the famous Toastery Bowl, will be Western Kentucky and Old Dominion in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that'll be the only bowl game on the 18th of this month. Then, on Tuesday the 19th, the only bowl game on that day will be the Frisco Bowl in Frisco, Texas. Oh, and by the way, the Bahamas Bowl, famous Toastery Bowl, that'll be at 11:30 a.m. Pacific on ESPN on Monday. And then at 6 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday, December 19th, like I said, is the Frisco Bowl. It'll be Marshall versus UTSA, Texas San Antonio. Then, 2 days later, we will have the Boca Raton Bowl, easy for me to say, the Boca Raton Bowl in Boca Raton, Florida. On December 21st, it'll be South Florida, USF, against Syracuse. So Syracuse and USF, and that'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, December 21st, from Boca Raton, Florida, in the Boca Raton Bowl. Then, the next day, the Gasparilla Bowl, whatever it's called. I can't pronounce that, I do apologize. But on Friday, December 22nd, it'll be Georgia Tech and UCF, Georgia Tech and UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl, from Tampa, Florida. And that'll be at, according to this, I'm trying to make sure I get it right. According to this, 6:30, 5:30, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. The Gasparilla Bowl from Tampa, Florida. It'll be Georgia Tech and UCF. So Central Florida gets a winning record in their inaugural season in the Big 12. And because they got a winning record in the inaugural season, they get into a bowl game. Then, the next day, we got several bowl games, just like we do on opening day. And that will be December 23rd, Saturday. We kick it off with the Birmingham Bowl in Birmingham, California. I mean, not California, but Alabama. Birmingham Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama. We will have at 9 a.m. Pacific on ABC, Troy against Duke. So Troy, I think they won the Sun Belt Conference Championship. They get Duke in the Birmingham Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama. And then in the Camilla Bowl, also at 9 a.m. Pacific on ESPN, Arkansas State and Northern Illinois. And that'll be from Montgomery, Alabama. Then the Armed Forces Bowl, which will be let's see, 3, 2, 1, 12. At 12:30 p.m. on ABC, the Armed Forces Bowl will be Air Force versus James Madison. Now, here's what's interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, Jacksonville State is one of the other teams, I think, that was not supposed to be in a bowl game this year because, of the change from divisional status. Remember, they were FCS, now they're FBS. James Madison was the same way. James Madison, had a great record this year and could have been in contention for a New Year's Day 6 at large. Unfortunately, they lost a game, or maybe two. But even despite the fact they had a winning record, James Madison was not going to get into a bowl game. They weren't. Because of the fact that they were still new. And they still had to establish themselves. But the new ruling that came around is either A, they go by the academic record, the academic GPAs of a school, to see if that school, even if they have a 5-7 record, could be placed into a bowl game, or if that's not the case, then the team that's not supposed to be in a bowl game gets that shot. And in this case, James Madison got that shot because there weren't many eligible other eligible bowl teams out there to fill the void. So James Madison is going to the Armed Forces Bowl against Air Force. Then, and that's in Fort Worth, Texas, on ABC at 12:30 p.m. on the 23rd. Then, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which used to be the Humanitarian Bowl, used to be the original Las Vegas Bowl, used to be the original California Bowl. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl will be Georgia State and Utah State in Boise, Idaho, also at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ESPN. Then, let's see, 7, 6, 5, yeah. Then, at 4 p.m. Pacific, we have the 68 Venturers Bowl, from Mobile, Alabama. It'll be Eastern Michigan and South Alabama. So South Alabama is going to have a huge home field contingent, home crowd, I should say. And then at 4:30 p.m. Pacific is the Las Vegas Bowl in Las Vegas, Nevada. It'll be Northwestern versus Utah. Then to close it out, let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah. At 7:30 p.m. Pacific is the Hawaii Bowl in Hawaii. It'll be San Jose State and Coastal Carolina. So those are the games on the Saturday before Christmas, which is December 23rd. Then on Tuesday, December 26th, the day after, I think, I'm going to double check. Actually, it's not. Usually it's the only one, but it's not this time. On December 26th, the Quick Lane Bowl will happen. It'll be Bowling Green versus Minnesota from Detroit, Michigan, and that will be at 11 a.m. Pacific. Then, at 2:30 p.m. Pacific on ESPN, following the Quick Lane Bowl, will be the First Responder Bowl from Dallas, Texas, and again that'll be at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. It'll be Texas State versus Rice. So Rice is going to have a bit of a home field advantage since they're in the Dallas area, or at least close to it. Then following that, at 6 p.m. Pacific time, from Phoenix, Arizona, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Kansas versus UNLV. That's right, UNLV and Kansas will meet in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. And I can tell you honestly, Kansas travels well in these kind of situations. UNLV, I know, Las Vegas, Nevada, they're close by too. So you're going to have a very mixed 50-50 crowd there. But probably more Jayhawk fans than anything. But that's the bowl game that closes out the 26th, the December 26th lineup of bowl games. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Kansas, UNLV, 6 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. And then on the 27th, we have the Military Bowl from Annapolis, Maryland. It'll be Tulane versus Virginia Tech, and that will be at 11 a.m. Pacific on ESPN. That being the Military Bowl on December 22nd. Following that, you have the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Yeah, the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, North Carolina. It'll be North Carolina versus West Virginia. North Carolina obviously is going to have a huge home field advantage, and that game will be at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And then at 5 p.m. Pacific, if I get myself some more coffee here. At 5 p.m. Pacific on Fox, we have the Holiday Bowl. It'll be number 15 Louisville versus Southern California, USC. And that'll be from San Diego, California, at where the Padres play baseball. So there you go. Or maybe not where the Padres play baseball. Maybe at the new home of the Aztecs. I'm not really sure. Be one of them. The Holiday Bowl will be at 5 p.m. Pacific, on Fox. Like I said, number 15 Louisville against USC. Then at 6 p.m. Pacific on ESPN, you have the Texas Bowl. You have number 20 Oklahoma versus Texas A&M. A Big 12 renewal of a rival, because these two teams, Texas A&M, used to be in the Big 12, and one of the main rivals was Oklahoma State. There you go. It's a renewal of a Big 12, old school Big 12 matchup. Then, and that closes out the December 27th lineup of bowl games. Then on December 28th, we have the Fenway Bowl. We have number 24 SMU, who won the American Conference, the AAC, All-American Conference. Is it? Oh, no, the American Athletic Conference. Sorry. The American Athletic Conference. Number 24 SMU versus Boston College from Boston, Massachusetts in the Fenway Bowl. I think Boston College is going to have a heavy contingent of fans there for that one. And that will be at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Following that, you have the Pinstripe Bowl. From the Bronx in New York at Yankee Stadium. It'll be Rutgers versus Miami, Florida. Miami U, if you will. And that'll be at 11:15 a.m. Pacific. And Rutgers, being in the New Jersey area, they're going to have a heavy contingent as well. Now, you might ask yourself, well, wait a minute. Isn't Miami and Rutgers in the same conference? They used to be. Rutgers then went to the, not actually. Rutgers was Big East, and then they went to the Big Ten. So Rutgers and Miami will be against each other. I think Rutgers was temporarily ACC for a bit until they moved. But yeah, Rutgers and Miami will face each other. That's kind of a renewal of something that happened back then when they were kind of in the same conference temporarily, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Rutgers and Miami Hurricanes at 11:15 a.m. Pacific from Yankee Stadium in the Pinstripe Bowl on ESPN. Then the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's right, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Used to be the Cheez-It Bowl. Used to be another name. But now the Pop-Tarts Bowl will be number 18 North Carolina State against number 25 Kansas State. So yeah, Kansas State will be in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is, some would say, it's kind of a big drop from the Sugar Bowl last year. But hey, it's a rebuilding process. A lot of teams go through this. But yeah, the Pop-Tarts Bowl will be number 18 North Carolina State and number 25 Kansas State from Orlando, Florida at 2:45 p.m. Pacific. And then to close out the December 28th lineup of bowl games will be the Alamo Bowl. It'll be at 6:15 p.m. from San Antonio, Texas. It'll be number 12 Oklahoma and number 14 Arizona, who really surprised a lot of people this year for getting where they are. And that'll be, like I said, in San Antonio, Texas at the Alamo Bowl. And it will be at 6:15 p.m. Pacific time, ESPN. Then, on December 29th, we have the Gator Bowl. It'll be number 22 Clemson in Kentucky from Jacksonville. And that'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific. Then we have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Used to be the John Hancock Sun Bowl. But now we have now it's the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. We have the Sun Bowl on CBS. That'll be at 11 a.m. Pacific, as far as I know. 11 a.m. Pacific. It'll be number 16 Notre Dame and number 19 Oregon State on CBS from El Paso. Then, at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, we will have the Liberty Bowl from Memphis, Tennessee. It'll be Memphis and Iowa State. Obviously, that's Memphis's home turf. Memphis is going to have basically a home field game. It's going to have a home game for a bowl game. You know what I mean? Home field advantage. Then, following that, at 5 p.m. Pacific, it's the start of the New Year's Six bowl games. We will have the Cotton Bowl, and it will be number 7 Ohio State and number 9 Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. So that's going to be interesting, and I think Missouri is going to have a heavy contingent of fans following them there for the Cotton Bowl. That will close out the lineup of bowl games for December 29th. Then, on December 30th, we have the Peach Bowl at 9 a.m. Pacific. This is another New Year's Day 6 game. It is the Peach Bowl on December 30th. It'll be number 10 Penn State and number 11 Ole Miss. And that'll be at Atlanta, Georgia, ESPN, 9 a.m. Pacific. Following that, on ABC at 11 a.m. Pacific, will be the Music City Bowl. And that will be Auburn versus Maryland. So Auburn and Maryland will be in the Music City Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee. Auburn and Maryland, and that'll be on the 30th of this month. Then following that, we have the Orange Bowl. We have number 5 Florida State against number 6 Georgia, and that will be at 1 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. Then following that, at 1:30 p.m. on Barstool, which is a streaming service. It might even get broadcast on CW as some kind of deal or something. I'm not really sure. It'll be the Arizona Bowl, Wyoming versus Toledo from Tucson, Arizona. And that wraps up the December 30th lineup of bowl games. And then, on New Year's Day, we'll start off at 9 a.m. Pacific. ESPN 2 will be the Reliquest Bowl. It'll be number 13 LSU versus Wisconsin from Tampa, Florida. That'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific on ESPN 2. And then at 10, I think it's 1, 12, 11, 10? Yeah. At 10 a.m. Pacific will be the Citrus Bowl on ABC from Orlando, Florida. And that'll be number 17 Iowa against number 21 Tennessee. It almost seems like it's destiny for Iowa to get to the Big Ten championship, lose, and then Citrus Bowl bound. No offense to the Iowa Hawkeye fans, but it's almost like you might as well start making trips to Orlando on January 1st. But yeah, Iowa will take on Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl at 10 a.m. Pacific on ABC. Then, also at 10 a.m. Pacific on ABC, it'll be the Fiesta Bowl. It'll be number 8 Oregon. And get this, what a jump from the Cure Bowl or whatever they were in last year. What a jump. It'll be number 8 Oregon and number 23, the Conference USA undefeated Liberty Flames. That's right, the Liberty Flames are going to be in the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona, and that will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time on ESPN. And then following that, at 2 p.m. Pacific time, will be the first of the semifinals in the college football playoff. At the Rose Bowl will consist of Michigan, who's been there before, at number 1, taking on number 4 Alabama. Now, that's going to be interesting, situation right there, because it's going to get talked about a lot going up to this point, and we'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, the Crimson Tide winning the SEC championship, barely by a hair, if you will, is in the playoffs. And again, this has got people talking. We'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, they will take on Michigan in the first semifinal game. That will be followed up by the second one at 5:45 p.m. on ESPN. In the Sugar Bowl, it'll be number 2 Washington and number 3 Texas. And then that closes out the New Year's Day, January 1st lineup of bowl games. And then, of course, January 8th is the national championship from Houston, Texas, and at NRG Stadium. So basically, that's the lineup of all the bowl games. And I'll put a link to the NCAA list of bowl, I will put a link in the description to the NCAA page where you see the lineup of all the bowl games and everything. And you can make of it what you will. But as I get myself more coffee here, and also probably if I can fit them, I'll put all the bowl games down there as well. But what really makes this interesting, and I bring up the Alabama situation, saying why that's going to be interesting, because like I said at the start, when the playoff matchups were announced, the final rankings were announced, just like the BCS before it, which it evolved from, the Bowl Championship Series, it seems that they cannot. It seems that the NCAA and the committees they put together cannot make choices without controversy. And this is why I think they're going the 12-team playoff route next year. I think this is why they're doing it, to avoid this controversy. Because, and what a way for this original 4-team setup to go out. It started obviously with controversy. It's going out with controversy. And again, I think this is why they're going that 12-team route, because think about this. Florida State beats Louisville, wins the ACC championship. They're undefeated, and Alabama loses to Texas, who won the Big 12 championship decisively against Oklahoma State. Alabama loses to Texas, who annihilates Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Alabama barely gets by Georgia. Well, Florida State may have had a struggle with Louisville, but then just pulled away. And yet they get shunned. They get shunned in favor of Alabama. And to me, I have to agree that that's a lot of BS. Because what I'm seeing here is it's not because, Alabama, it's not because Alabama finally overcame Georgia. It's not because of, of this or that. Or whatever excuse you want to come up with. What it is the name recognition. That's right, the name recognition. And who's been more associated with the playoffs? And if you look between the two, Alabama has always been more associated, with the CFP than Florida State. And I believe, from last I heard, there might be some Alabama alumni on that committee. I could be wrong. But even so, I think the people at ESPN and other outlets said it best. It's not about, what you do on the field. It's about style. It's about style points. And Alabama, who barely beat Georgia, obviously, impressed the community enough with the style points that they were able to get in. Well, you know what? I say BS on the style points because I think what it is somebody got the palm greased. That's my opinion. Like, I still stick by the fact that there could be some Alabama alumni on that side, on that committee. But I think also some of the final, like the higher ups on that committee that get the final say, they probably have the palm greased with extra moolah. That's what I think. And I know I'm not alone in that. Because, look, it's great Alabama finally beat Georgia, but Florida State is undefeated. You're supposed to match up the best of the best. Okay? You're supposed to match up the best of the best. Alabama, by default, should not be in this scenario because they lost to a team that's in it. Texas is against Washington in the Sugar Bowl. Alabama lost to Texas. So Alabama should not be in it. Florida State should be the one taking on Michigan in the Rose Bowl. But it's not happening because, again, my opinion is Alabama has some alumni on that committee, and I also think some of those higher-up committee members got their hands greased with moolah. And not only that, but also for the fact that Alabama and their coach Nick Saban is more recognizable with the college football playoffs than Florida State and their head coach. It's all about name recognition. It's all about having people on the inside that went to your school, that still favor your school, out of respect. And it's also about getting your palm greased. That's why Florida State got shut. Those 3 reasons, in my opinion. Could I be wrong? Probably, but I don't think so. Because I think a lot of people are going to come to that conclusion. And this is why, again, like I said earlier, they're going to this 12-team playoff deal. Because they can't avoid it if they do this. They cannot avoid, screwing up here once they have the 12 teams set. They can't. They can't screw up whatsoever. Now, the question obviously is, how will this new 12-team setup affect the bowl season? From what I'm hearing, it's not going to affect it that much. There might even be bowl games that are played during the days of the first round games. So you're still going to have bowl games happening, but you're also going to have first round games happening either on the home field or the higher seats. So there you go. Bowl games won't be affected, but they're just going to have to correlate with the first round games of the playoffs. But you know what? When I heard this, it to me it just does not surprise me that this whole when they started the college football playoff system, the 4 teams, it was not a surprise that it started out controversially. And it had controversy throughout its run. Sometimes it got it right, sometimes it didn't. But what a way to end it. You start out with controversy, you end it with controversy. Well, guess what? Next year, they can't avoid controversy. Hopefully not. Well, hopefully they will, I should say. Hopefully they will avoid controversy next year because they're going to have the top 12 teams competing in a tournament to see who becomes national champion. They can't avoid controversy. They can't. And they know it. They know that. They can't avoid Florida State becoming national champion next year if they're in the same position they are this year. They can't avoid that. They can't. But man, what a way to go out. What a way to have the original 14 playoff, format go out. Again, like I said, you start controversially when it first began, and you end controversially. Hopefully next year they switch up the committee members, and if I'm the NCAA, I triple check those committee members and make sure none of them have ties to any of the schools that might be eligible to get into the playoffs, or even possibly be given a chance to be ranked up to be part of the tournament. I would double and triple check them. Double and triple check their backgrounds. And if I find somebody is part of Alabama, is an alumni of Alabama and still supports them, I'm going to say, you're out. We'll bring in somebody else in. Or if I see somebody that's an alumni to Michigan, I'm going to say, nope, you're gone, you're in. What they need, honestly, is unbiased, unassociated, non-associated members on that committee with no favoritism whatsoever. That's what they need. Because that way they can avoid controversy. Now, do I think they're going to have controversy even with the 12-team tournament? Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But I think the positive, it'll be less avoidable. The only controversies you're going to have is who's going to be ranked, basically who's going to be ranked 7 to 12. What teams are going to be in those rankings, they get the shot. That's what the only controversy I see that could inevitably happen. But I think it'll be less avoidable here. And you know what? When you think about it, them going this route, it's actually probably the best solution. It really is. It really is. But yeah, I'm in total agreement. Florida State should be in Alabama's place, and Alabama should be where Florida State's going. Because who's Florida State facing again? Who's Florida State facing again? Let me see. I know I got it here somewhere. They're facing Georgia. You know what? Alabama should be facing Georgia. Give us an SEC championship rematch in the Orange Bowl, and let Florida State have that position in the playoffs. Or heck, take Alabama out, have them face Oregon, have Liberty face Georgia. Or have Oregon face Georgia, have Liberty face Alabama. That makes more sense. And I think a lot of you would agree with that. That's what they should have done. Or that's what they should do. You got weeks to go. You got weeks to go. I mean, the Florida State head coach was... oh my God. If you guys read what this guy said on Twitter. He is... That head coach is pissed. He is pissed at the NCAA. He is pissed at the committee. Because I think he knows something's not right. Something on the inside occurred that favored Alabama. And he's pissed about it. Now, some could say, well, Alabama beat the number one team in the land. That qualifies them. BS. Yeah, you can beat the number one team in the land, but that doesn't automatically should qualify you to be in the playoff. I mean, we've seen the number one team get beat in the regular season. Does that mean the team that beat them in the regular season, despite, let's say, them having a 7-5 record, does that mean that 7-5 team should be in the playoff? No, it doesn't. The team that should have been in is Florida State. End of discussion. And they know it. Everybody listening to this knows it. End of discussion. And the way it should have gone is Florida State and Michigan, Rose Bowl, Texas, Washington, Sugar Bowl. Orange Bowl should have been Oregon, Alabama, and what is the other one? Hold on. Oregon, Alabama. And the Peach Bowl, not Oregon, let me see which one it is. Yeah, Oregon, Alabama, if you will. And let's see. The Orange Bowl, Orange Bowl should have been Liberty, Georgia. End of discussion. Alabama, Oregon, in again, I gotta reread this. Hold on. Yeah, Fiesta Bowl, Oregon, Alabama. Orange Bowl should have been Liberty, Georgia. And everybody knows that. If I said other bowl names, I do apologize. This just shows me that no sport, college or pro, is safe from people on the inside being influenced by former teams they used to be part of. Or it shows that people that could be like the final votes of a committee to vote someone in. It shows that they're not immune of getting their palms greased with an extra few million or 100, whatever, few thousand. This is BS, and I will agree with that. I'm not the biggest Seminole supporter, but this is BS. This is BS, and they know it. Florida State knows it's BS. They know, like I said, it should be them against Michigan, and Alabama either in an SEC championship rematch with Georgia, or Alabama against Oregon and Liberty against Georgia. End of discussion. That's how it should go. Liberty and Georgia in the Orange Bowl, Alabama, Oregon in the Fiesta. That's how it should go. And the truth is, they have plenty of time between now and then to fix this. And you can't tell me the NCAA can't, because they will. Well, they can. They can fix this. If they don't want no negative, backlash, especially going into next year's 12-team tournament, which, again, I think could also have controversy, but mostly with who's going to be ranked 7 to 12. They don't want any more backlash. They need to address this, and they need to fix it, and they also need to do background checks on the community members and make sure that none of them have ties to any of the schools that'll be part of the playoffs, part of that tournament. They need to make sure of that, and and most of all, bring in unassociated people to be members of that committee. And that's the truth. That's the truth. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to talk about that and give my thoughts on the whole controversy and everything. Again, I will put a link in the description to the NCAA website where you can find the list of bowl games. I will try to list them all here in the description, hopefully. But let me know what your thoughts are on all the bowl games. Which ones are you looking forward to the most? And what are your thoughts on the fact that because there was because there was not many bowl-eligible teams with winning records, what are your thoughts on James Madison getting in basically in a year they weren't supposed to? The same with Jacksonville State. And what are your thoughts on this Florida State, Alabama college football playoff controversy? And do you think I'm right on the fact that there could be members on that community that are alumni of Alabama? Do you think I'm right on the fact that higher community members that have the final vote are getting their palms greased? And do you think maybe it's because Nick Saban and his team is more recognizable with the CFP than Florida State and their coach? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. And until then, guys, I am out.